Well, I have I had such a great day today. I did so much work for this client that I'm kind of tech lead for them and worked a lot with their engineering team, but it was just flowing super nicely. It was a lot of fun. Some other things got delayed and whatnot, but overall, still very good fun. Anyway, um, I was having a conversation with this guy who asked me about software agencies, and I thought I'd one of the things I wanted to do is reflect on specific things, and so this is one of them. Like, why why run a software agency versus other agencies? And I thought I'd just like reflect on my own thinking. Um, it really came down to a couple things, but when at the time I chose it, I basically reflected on the direction that I want to go in, and my thinking was I want to start a business. Like this is something that I want to do. I don't just want to do engineering or market. Like I want to specifically start a business. This is an ambition that I have. It's something that I specifically like enjoy. Um, and so, okay, I want to do a business. Now, there's a couple options. Most businesses require some startup capital. If you want startup capital, you can go after VCs. Without a track record, I was 17 at the time. It's very hard to raise from VCs. It is a possibility, but especially when you're in the US and things like that. Now, I didn't have access to the US. I was in Singapore. Um, and it's not so easy to raise money without a track record, so young, like no credentials, all these things. Like I built stuff in the past, but nothing like big. And so basically it boiled down to not having any other reference. Basically, like I didn't have um I needed to find a business that I could do with no startup capital. And the other consideration I had was I wanted to practice building things. Like I wanted to build something in tech just because that is a position that I want to be in general. Like it's like I think tech's going to be if you just look at yeah, I mean where are you going to be able to create the most value for like society and things like that? It's going to be in tech because that's where you can create the most fundamentally transformational companies. It's there. And so at the time I was dabbling a lot in blockchain and crypto stuff. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess I could start trying to get some contracts. And I had also spoken to there's this friend of mine who had made a little bit of money doing like software engineering as well in terms of like contracts. So I was like, okay, I'll give this a try. This sounds like a pretty good business. Um, and I went down that route. Um, I think the biggest benefit, the reason why I still do it today is because it gives you like at least for me specifically, I'm really in like I'm very interested in the whole like tech startup scene. But at the same time, that's not a scene that's easily accessible without any experience or access to the US and things like that. You can, you like the thing that I identified was I need to learn because I had tried to co-found this ed tech company when I was 16 and I did it for a year. But it really, like, it totally flopped. And what I realized is like, okay, product market fit is hard. All these things are hard. You need money. There's all kinds of things you need to learn. And I realized I knew none of that. And at the time, there's a really big agency space online now, but at the time, that wasn't the case. Like, that really blew up recently in the past 2 years. But like, I wasn't really part of that wave totally. Like, I think I had heard a little bit about it, but it really came down to the fact that I wanted a vehicle to learn and also run a business. And what I identified was basically the software agency was going to put me in the best position because I could learn from my clients. You get to learn from other tech companies who are ahead, who do what you eventually maybe want to do, like at least in my case. And you get to practice engineering. So, like, literally building a team of talented engineers that can do and build stuff quickly. Like, how can you ship faster, optimize production, all these kinds of things. I get to practice all of these skills while being paid, also practicing the running a business. And when you start a business, there's two main risks you have: execution and ideation. So you have idea risk, right, which is you launch something that actually nobody wants, or you have execution risk, which is you launch something that is a real business, but for whatever reason is not being run properly, right? It's being mismanaged, whether that's in hiring the wrong people, not knowing how to do, business acquisition, things like that, right? There's a million reasons why a business can fail, but fundamentally it boils down to those two things. They're either you don't know how to run a business or your idea doesn't work. Now, I also reflected on that and realized I should probably try and eliminate risk because I'm being so inexperienced. I'm going to be way more likely to fail. Like I built my first business at 13. I had built a startup at 16, but it was nothing serious, right? It was no, like I had dabbled. And so in making that first decision, I was like, I can get rid of ideation risk by just doing a business model that's been done before, right? So my idea risk I've completely removed. Now, the only reason this business can fail is execution risk, because there are literally hundreds of other businesses, thousands of other businesses who do what I do. So fundamentally, that as a business model is a good one. Like it exists. It might not be the most profitable, might not be the biggest, but there are development agencies that do hundreds of millions in revenue a year. Those guys have been in the game for a very long time, longevity, all these things. Yes, absolutely. But like fundamentally, I don't need to spend time looking for product market fit because I know there is product market fit for my services. I just need to worry about actually knowing how to run a business. You're not going to run the most profitable thing because obviously like there's more competition, all these things, but it's an arena where you can practice those business skills. And I would say like, for some people, agencies their end game, and that's fair enough. For me, I don't think it is. I think I want to build more things in technologies. Like I think the most transformational tech right now is crypto, AI, and VR. I mean, all the buzzwords. They're buzzwords for a good reason. And so I also try to focus on clients in those spaces because that gives me exposure to those spaces. So I then I get to learn about them, right? I get to learn about those spaces more, be involved. Also, clients can give you brand. So if you work with a specific client, like if Google hires my tech company, right, then I can say I've worked with Google before, things like that. And obviously, as an employee, you have that as well. But when you have an agency, you can work with more clients and increase your likelihood of exposure to some kind of blue chip client. That's not guaranteed, and it's very hard, especially in tech, but still a possibility. But yeah, I think fundamentally it's just, for me, I saw it as a really excellent vehicle to learn. And what I didn't realize is it can also be a really good way to find a job. I've been offered a lot of jobs through the agency because I've built this experience of leading tech teams, and doing that well is a hard skill to find because I've tried to hire for this role and it's very hard to find. And there's very few people who I would trust to do it. And I run a very right now especially I run a very boutique thing, and so I can manage it all by myself. But a part of growing will be finding that, and finding that talent's really hard. And so you build a lot of really useful skills that I think make your entry into tech ultimately a lot easier. And I don't know, I just think it opens doors to learn how to build companies, and then also stay exposed to technology. If you build some kind of totally non-tech company, sure, you can still build a big brand obviously, but it's like Gymshark, I think, is a really cool case study of brand building done really well. Gymshark is in the billions, but they don't have, I think they haven't created fundamentally world-changing technologies. And you don't have to make the most world-changing thing, it doesn't have to do anything like that, but they're not bringing something new to the table. And that's something that I have ambitions to do. Not just obviously, I think creating a business in and of itself provides value to the world, and so I think that is a challenge worth pursuing. It's very rewarding, all these things, but at the same time, I think being able to provide something new, bring something new to the table it's just an idea that I always valued those kind of the quote unquote cliche, great minds, Einstein, Newton, things like that. The guys who basically moved the needle forward, again, as Steve Jobs says, made their little dent in the universe. Yeah, so that was my thinking through it. And I guess I thought I'd just make this because if anybody's thinking or reflecting on what kind of business they want to run, and if software is one of the businesses they have as an option. You could do design, you can do all kinds of like SEO, marketing. There's lots of agencies you can run. But that was just one of the reasons, or not one of the reasons, but those were all the reasons. There's probably stuff I'm forgetting as well, but yeah, that was my thinking through this decision. Maybe it'll help somebody who's having the same reflections or trying to. Yeah, I probably wish I could have found something like this. I feel like I would have made a decision faster. Um, yeah. Other than that, I'm gonna head to sleep. It's midnight. I gotta wake up tomorrow at like 8. And I got a busy morning, so I'm gonna get to it.